much and so greatly that we hear stories about, youngsters walking down the street and there's a protest and they're burning the flag, and it incensed them so much that they run in there and grab the burning flag, put the flame out, and run away with the flag, which is a true situation that happened here in California. We hate bad behavior. Controversy and confrontation are usually avoided because it makes us uncomfortable. Tell me that isn't true. Agony and distress within the family or your friendship or at work or at church, especially at church, where we can. Sometimes we even feel guilty if we prolong or contribute to the controversy. Every once in a while we get in that dig. Yeah, that's the way you are, or yeah, you should have done it differently, or something like that. And then afterwards you think, damn, I wish I would have kept my mouth shut. Again, things that I'm not telling you anything new, right? But it's a part of understanding. It's one of those things that we do and we don't really think about it, but it's a part of understanding what and how we are. This, combined with ignorance of humanist methodology, make the average American very vulnerable, a victim of his own decency. Humanism's man-centered roots necessarily yield the bitter fruit of political domination and oppression. I didn't do it. We're spending a pretty good amount of time in understanding our parts. The first chapter was in understanding ourselves. Be honest with yourself. Admit that's exactly the way you are. That's exactly the way we want to be, peaceful. Now we're going to try to understand the other side. Webster's Dictionary of the 1970s defines humanism as a modern, non-theistic, rationalistic movement that holds that man is capable of self-fulfillment and ethical conduct without recourse to supernaturalism. Let me boil it down. We can be whatever we want and we don't need God. That's what it is. That's the definition of humanism. Humanists believe that because man evolved, he and he alone is the alpha and omega of all morals, the creator of standards and all human values. Humanists believe that ethics and morality reflect contemporary thoughts and are a product of man's imagination and consensus. They believe that ethics, like man, are also evolving. Haven't we seen that just if you just follow what's happened in television since it first started with I Love Lucy and Ricky and Lucy were sleeping in different separate beds and now you can turn on almost any day and there's some orgy going on. And it's taken a while. And the movies, when we used to have G and M and all the rest of the stuff, if you went to those movies, and now, a PG movie is allowed 5 to 10 cuss words and one sexual situation and one innuendo on drugs, and then PG-13 will like double that, and R is pretty much anything goes. R is the X of 10 or 20 years ago, and X is, I don't even want those pictures in my mind. But you see how it's evolving? You see how ethics, what's right and what's wrong, is an evolving thing to the humanist. That as opposed to us who believe that there is a right, there's a wrong, and there's a consequence. That's a difference. And those differences guarantee that we're going to be in a fight. Thus, by definition, there are no absolute standards, no immutable laws of conduct, no principles governing man's behavior. Anything goes, baby, as long as you can get away with it. And they keep trying to get away with it until they really do get away with it, until the rules change and let them do what they want. Does a radical liberal feel guilty about telling a lie? Do they feel remorse when they underhandedly force their will on others? The answer is right there. No, they don't feel guilty. If lying advances their political goals, they conclude it's actually immoral not to lie. You know the old cliche, the end justifies the means? It's actually an old commie cliche. If you accept the humanist perspective that the absence of God, why not? Why not? There's no consequence to lying. Who are you guilty to? If you don't either believe in God or you don't believe that He's an actual player in the world, and you lie, what's going to happen? There are no eternal consequences, and if you can get away with it, there aren't any temporal consequences right here. Sometimes they get caught and they go, "Whoops, sorry." But deep down, they do believe that whatever it takes to accomplish their goal is okay. The end justifying the means. Why bother to worry about a conscience if there is no God to hold us accountable? What then are the logical consequences of humanist thought, and what behavior emanates from the assumptions? Is truth absolute? Are there ultimate rights and wrongs? The answer for them is obviously no. There are no absolute rights and wrongs. Hence, all ethical values are malleable, changeable, and somewhat irrelevant. Ethics are situational. The situation dictates which ethics apply. If we don't understand that that is the truth about our opponents, we will never win. It is the basic difference between us. We think there are consequences. They don't. All you need is political power, political control to dictate what is right for the situation. And that is exactly what we're experiencing right now with this present presidential administration. He's got control of the guns, the army, the police force, the courts, to some extent. And they're dictating what's right. Cap and trade is okay. The health care for all is okay. Having 30% of the people who work and pay taxes pay the way for the 70% that are either unemployed because they screwed up the economy or have never been employed because they don't want to work is okay. And there's something wrong with that picture in there. What then is moral to the humanist? It boils down to that. Whatever works. Whatever it takes to get the job done. Period. And again, we're experiencing it now like we've never experienced it before in this country. Lying becomes a tactic rather than a moral imperative. If found out, they bluff, plead ignorance, denounce the accuser, or even dialectically apologize by admitting the mistake, beg forgiveness, even promise restitution. Lying, therefore, brings no pang of conscience. The error is in getting caught. Lying becomes an actual tool in their tool chest. And if we stand up to them and say, "That's a lie," no, it's not. Yes, it is. Okay, but it's just a little one. It's a lie. Oh, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. As a matter of fact, when the pressure becomes so great on them, they say, "Not only will I not do it again, we'll take a step back. We'll fix this." But that is a tactic that they've done because they will never step back all the way. They have still beaten ground. So lying actually becomes a part of their operations, a part of their manual. The liberals compromise. I win, you lose, then you lose some more. That sound familiar? Yep. What occurs when these contradictory ideologies come into contact with one another? When those believing in traditional American concepts of living and government are assaulted by some new socialist program advanced by the liberals. Traditionalists attempting to preserve the status quo, and that's us, preserving freedom. Remember when our country was created, we had the greatest amount of freedom, and we have gone downhill since. Had a little bump with the whole slavery thing. I think that was part of God's role in our country. But freedom, and now we have, probably this much freedom. Humanist act, offering programs of socialized revision, expect disruptive change. In fact, they look forward to it. So every time they try to change something, they expect there to be a fight. As a matter of fact, they look forward to it. Because if there isn't a fight, that means to them, they aren't picking on us. They're not getting us mad. They're not picking on something that is important to us. And for them, it's all about control. It's important to know how each side views the confrontation as a positive or a negative, who gains and who loses. Traditional Americans dislike conflict and withdraw from it as a matter of habit and training. Something's going on, somebody's having an argument, you either try to, oh, all right, you guys, calm down, or you know what, I'm going to let them work it out, and off we go. Or somebody's doing something stupid in the woods or with guns, and we might protest, but more often than not, we just say, forget those people, and we walk away. We don't want to be involved in the fight. We don't like getting bloody. We don't like our knuckles hurting. We don't like to yell and scream. That's the way we are. The humanist looks upon confrontation as a necessity, a positive ingredient in advancing their programs. They expect confrontation, plan for it, and anticipate the predictable negative reaction from their opposition, often using the reaction to further promote their cause. Conflict, therefore, is expected, welcomed, analyzed, and then used to advance their goals. That's how they work. Have you ever noticed that the libs, they come up with one issue after another, and you just think, where are they coming up with all of these things? They come up with an issue, they cause a fight, how we react is what they take a look at and say, okay, now we got a game plan. We know they're weak here, we know they're strong here, we're gaining support here, okay, so we can kind of let this conflict go down a little bit. We gained. Now let's plan for the next conflict. For us, if we're involved in a conflict, we want to go and want it to end and go home. They plan strategy, organize support, select the field of battle, choose the appropriate time to launch the new program, and frame the issue in a manner as to put their program in the best light. In other words, they come up with these issues, and you think, what are they talking about? Now, this whole green movement, or the old ecology movement, or spotted owls, or whatever it is, snail darters in mud holes and wheat patches in the middle of the desert. They come up with these things, and they come up with them first, and they put them up to the public as a crisis. And if we react in kind of an apologetic way, or we never react very well. But they're ahead of the game. They've started the fight. They're already on offense. They make it look like snail darters are, mom and apple pie and hot dogs at the ballpark. When in fact, all they're doing is marshaling their forces in order to influence and impact us so that they are in control. They know opposition is forthcoming. They look forward to it. Once the conflict is engaged, the leftists anticipate the opposition's response and judge their effectiveness accordingly. The issue is pursued until the conservative resistance becomes formidable and an overall negative result could occur. At that time, this is very important, a dialectic backward step is in order. A strategic retreat, giving up some ground. So what they do, they cause a fight. And they push it. And finally, those people affected, usually conservatives, will finally stand up and fight and start to push back. Sometimes they will get so mad that they organize to the point to where they actually start raising money to give to candidates, to fight the candidates that are pushing this liberal agenda. And at that point, the leftists understand, oops, they are now getting to the point to where they can actually hurt us. So then they go, step back. Let's compromise. We didn't, okay, we won't be unreasonable. let's compromise. But with every compromise,